The irony of the trans movement, as we are seeing it metastasize today, is that it's fundamentally misogynist and it's inherently homophobic. It's inherently homophobic. And by the way, the victims of all of this are going to be gays, young lesbians, and impressionable children. And for that, I don't know how it happened. They've got the eye of the legislator. I'm going to pull up just this here. Bill C4, people, an act to amend the criminal code. This is law now, by the way, in Canada. It passed in January 2022, or it was received. I'll look at to see when it received royal assent. An act to amend the criminal code. Conversion therapy. Hey, but spoiler alert, people. Conversion therapy, one way, is criminalized. Conversion therapy, another way right now, not so much. And just wait until this is coming from the justice.qc.ca, justice.governmentofcanada.ca. Explanatory note. Section 4.2 of the Department of Justice Act requires the Minister of Justice to prepare a charter statement for every government bill to help inform public and parliamentary debate on government bills. One of the Ministers of Justice's most important responsibilities, charter considerations. The Minister of Justice has examined Bill C4, an act to amend the criminal code, conversion therapy, for any inconsistency with the charter pursuant to his obligation under Section 4.1 of the Department of Justice Act. This review involved consideration of the objectives and features of the bill. What follows is a non-exhaustive discussion of the ways in which Bill C4 potentially engages the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the charter. It is presented to assist in informing the public and parliamentary debate on the bill. Listen to this. Bill C4 would amend the criminal code to prohibit certain activities that relate to conversion therapy. Well, that's funny, because when you hear it, you might think that it's actually going to outlaw converting boys to girls, transitioning girls to boys, double mastectomies, bottom surgeries, lopping off functional genitalia to convert literally, or to attempt to convert literally, one sex to the other. You'd be wrong if you thought that. Conversion therapy, which is defined as a practice, treatment, or service designed to wait until you see how unidirectional this is, and deliberately so. It's in your face. Conversion therapy is defined as a practice, treatment, or service designed to change a person's sexual orientation to heterosexual. You can change them to gay. You can change them to trans, but you can't change them, their sexual orientation, to heterosexual. Change a person's gender identity to cisgender. The heck does cisgender mean again? Look up cisgender. A cisgender person is someone who has a gender identity that matches their sex assigned at birth. Conversion therapy that would be outlawed is changing a person's a practice, treatment, service designed to change a person's gender identity to cisgender, but you can change it to trans. Change a person's gender expression so that it conforms to the sex assigned to the person at birth, but you can change them to a sex that they weren't assigned at birth. Repress or reduce non-heterosexual attraction or sexual behavior. Can you imagine our government is using this terminology? Repress a person's non-cisgender identity, or repress or reduce a person's gender expression that does not conform to the sex assigned to that person at birth. Conversion therapy is basically anything that would involve trying to veer someone back to heterosexuality, to accepting their gender identity as assigned at birth, whatever the hell that is. Do you know what this basically does? This criminalizes treatment of gender dysphoria. Some of you may not know what gender dysphoria is. Because once upon a time, everything that we're discussing now as trans ideology is known as gender dysphoria. It's in the, just so nobody thinks I'm making this up, they're going to call me a bigot for, being all medical. It's only a matter of time before they try to abridge or amend the DSM-5 or 6 or 7, whatever, just to take gender dysphoria out of there. It's no longer going to be an issue. I mean, OCD is going to be an issue. Feeling anxiety, stress, if you don't do certain things compulsively, that'll still be recognized as a mental issue, a mental illness under the DSM-5. They're going to take out gender dysphoria. The extreme unease of feeling that you're not the sex that you were born into, that'll be taken out. Gender dysphoria is a term that describes a sense of unease that a person may have because of a mismatch between their biological sex and their gender identity. The sense of unease or dissatisfaction may be so intense that it can lead to depression, anxiety, and have a harmful impact on daily life. This is from NHS. Let's just go to DSM-5. Remember, we're going to go back to that. Provision of criminal law now. You can't try to talk someone out of their gender dysphoria. You can only affirm it. And Jordan Peterson had an amazing segment on the idea that a psychiatrist or a therapist or a cognitive behavioral therapist or a psychologist's role in treating a patient is to affirm their mental issues. Like that's what they're for. Psychiatrists there are now no longer there to advise, assess, and provide medical expertise. They're there simply to affirm the dysphoria of their patients. Gender dysphoria, a concept designated in the DSM-5 TR as clinically significant distress or impairment related to gender incongruous, which may include desire to change primary and or secondary sex characteristics. Not all transgender or gender diverse people experience gender dysphoria. American Psychiatric Association. Don't blame me, people. I didn't make this up. The bill would prohibit certain activities related to conversion therapy, which is defined as as treatment service designed to change a person's sexual orientation to heterosexual, change a person's gender identity to cisgender. Well, that's it. Our government has just handcuffed and crippled and criminalized the subcategory of psychiatry related to the treatment of gender dysphoria. Because if anybody now says to someone suffering from gender dysphoria, maybe wait this out, here are some things you can do to treat the anxiety, to possibly come to grips with, to realign with your sex assigned at birth, it's going to be potentially criminal right now. Prohibition causing another person to what this was intended to, I presume, I'm not even sure that I can presume that anymore. I imagine what this was intended to target was like kidnapping young gay kids by ultra-religious individuals, parents, whatever, who want to like exercise the gay. I can only think of something that would involve criminality and not just words. Like a religious parent who I respect the beliefs. I understand the way they might feel about homosexuality. I can safely say I do not share those beliefs. What I imagine this was intended to outlaw was kidnapping, psychological abuse. I can imagine a parent waking their gay kid up every 2 hours. I say in a horror movie, I can imagine this. I don't think this is the way the religious people work at all. So I'm not trying to stereotype. The type of abuse of waking a gay kid up every 2 hours and saying, you're going to go to hell if you don't get straight. I can imagine that. But you know what? Criminal laws already exist to prohibit that type of conduct. Criminal harassment, psychological abuse, parental abuse, like waking a kidnapping, it's already there. This now basically criminalizes a concerned, potentially religious and not necessarily even religious parent saying, you'll grow out of this phase. Maybe it's just a phase. Maybe, calm down, live life, and you'll grow out of it. Telling a kid they might grow out of a phase right now, potentially criminal. Who the hell knows? Because it's so bloody ambiguous. That's what it was intended to cover outright abuse in terms of conversion therapies. What's quite clear from this is that it bans pretty much one unidirectional. If you're telling someone that they're not, you can't tell someone they're straight. You can't tell someone that they're male if they were born male, but you sure as hell can convert them the other way. You sure as hell can. It almost seems like it's implicitly protected under this drafting. Here, check this out. Canada Bill C4 banning conversion therapy comes into force January 7, 2022. Bill C4, a federal bill that amends Canada's criminal by creating new criminal offenses. Nothing's better than creating new criminal offenses where you already had provisions of law to deal with those very same conceptual acts of potential criminality. Related to conversion therapy came into effect. The new offenses include knowingly causing another person to undergo conversion therapy, promoting or advertising conversion therapy, can't even talk about it, and receiving financial or material benefit from conversion therapy. I hope to goodness this comes back and bites the asses of the doctors performing actual, literal conversion therapy. Biological, hormonal, genital mutilation conversion therapy. I don't think it can reasonably because it doesn't seem to be worded that way. But my goodness, it would be ironic if this law is used to criminally pursue those who cause, promote, materially, financially benefit from double mastectomies, or as they like to euphemistically call it, top surgeries, lopping off functional penises, what they call bottom surgeries. It would be ultimate irony. But you know what? You don't need new laws to deal with that for which there are already existing laws. I don't need a new law to prohibit genital mutilation in children. Don't need it. But now we're being told 2 + 2 is 5. Someone born a biological male, you have to call that person a she. And it's not genital mutilation to lop off the functional breasts or penises of young people who are not old enough to consent to a tattoo. It's gender affirming care. It's not genital mutilation. It's gender affirming care. My goodness, everybody engaged in clitoral circumcision practices, just use the language. It's religious affirming care. Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, David Lametti. You may remember David Lametti. He's the guy that replaced Jody Wilson-Raybould. And Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Youth, Marcy Yen, introduced the bill on November 29, 2021. On December 1, members of Parliament in the House of Commons unanimously agreed to expeditiously adopt a motion to pass the bill. Do you know what this means? Bullshit. This means freaking institutionalized corruption. Expeditiously pass the bill. Because at one point it was called Bill C6. And I don't know what happened to Bill C6. I think it died the same way Bill C11, the act to regulate online streaming, died, and then they just rammed it through as Bill C10. But they just did the same thing here. Bill dies with the legislature, ram it through. Expeditiously. You know what you can't do expeditiously is pass laws. You know what you can't do expeditiously? Have thorough, meaningful public debate. And by the way, unanimously, when it comes to something of criminalizing words and thought, being unanimous is not a good sign. It means that people are drinking the same Kool-Aid or flipping cowards. And by the way, unanimously, that would involve the so-called Conservative Party of Canada. Soon after, the bill was also fast-tracked in the Senate, and on December 7, it was passed without amendment. The bill received royal assent December 8, 2021. The bill itself stipulated that the law would come into force 30 days after it received royal assent. There you go. This bill defines conversion therapy as follows. Conversion therapy means a practice, treatment, or service designed to change a person's sexual orientation to heterosexual. How the hell do you pass a law that's drafted like that? Why would it not just be to change a person's sexual orientation? Why would it not be that? How could it not be that? Unanimous. Nobody stopped to say, wait a minute. Why would it only be, why would it only relate to changing a person's sexual orientation to heterosexual? So I can tell someone to be gay? I mean, that's what it means. I can tell someone to be gay. I can tell a boy to become a girl, but I can't tell a boy who in that moment of their life thinks that they're a girl that, no, you're really a boy and you might just grow out of this. Change a person's gender identity to cisgender. Why wouldn't it just be to change a person's gender identity? Change a person's gender expression so that it conforms to the sex assigned to the person at birth. Why wouldn't it just be to change a person's gender expression? This law is intended to promote trans. That's it. It's intended to promote what is a diagnosed mental condition under the DSM-5. That's what it is intended to promote, exacerbate, and amplify. What is recognized under the DSM-5 as gender dysphoria. Repress a person's non-cis, so you can change a person's gender identity to non-cisgender. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed that conversion therapy, but not to cisgender. You're not allowed repressing a person's you're not allowed, let me see if I can get this mental gymnastics in my head. You cannot repress a person's non-cisgender identity, but you can conversion therapy repress someone's cisgender identity. You can tell someone, dude, you're not actually what you think you are, what you're in your birth certificate, but look at you. You got long hair. You're a little effeminate. Maybe you're not a boy. You could tell you could do that. You could do that conversion therapy. You could chop their dicks off. It's amazing. You can chop off their tits and you can chop off their dicks. I should say that more politely. You can remove their breasts and you can remove their male genitalia. That, oddly enough, would not be conversion therapy under this law. That's weird. Don't get angry though, and don't object to it. It was unanimous. Even the Conservative Party of Canada agreed to this. So if you don't agree with this, as Maxime Bernier of the People's Party of Canada didn't, it's unanimous. It's unanimous. You can't argue with unanimity. Unanimity makes right, right? Oh my gosh. This is law in Canada now. A one-way prohibition on conversion therapy, which is a one-way free-for-all on the inverted conversion therapy. Unbelievable.